Okay. I'd like to call to order Policies and Priorities Committee meeting Monday, February 8th, 2021. Approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Lehman.
That all items on the February 8th, 2021 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting agenda be approved as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Majinski. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Adoption of minutes, January 11th, 2021 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councillor Majinski.
That the minutes of the Monday, January 11th, 2021 Policies and Priority Committee meeting be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Norbury. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes, Council? Staff? Thank you. Consent agenda. Recommendation, please. Councillor Norbury.
That all items in the February 8th, 2021 consent agenda be moved for information.
Seconder, Councillor Kurkalka. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Any items Council would like to lift for discussion? Councillor Norbury.
6.3, Your Worship.
For discussion, seconder, Councillor Majinski. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So, in this email, we received correspondence from the Ministry of Energy, Mines, and Low Carbon Innovation asking if this area is still correct in its importance to us. And it absolutely is. I think we should be sending a letter back to them explaining the importance of the area, because currently that land reserve is only covering the Boulder Gardens, but also developed in that area is the shipyard Titanic, Babcock Falls, and the Emperor's Challenge route, which brings in 1,000 people a year, is all in that area. So I think we should be sending a letter in the affirmative that yes, this is still important, and these other areas within that lease.
Yeah, I agree. Councillor Majinski.
Yeah, I think we should also add in there the who it impacts. So the geopark is one, Wolverine Rock Society, and the Empress Challenge running routes. So and those are the Empress Challenge brings a lot of people, and it helps out our community. So there's a couple of items we plan for that. So.
Absolutely. Councillor Howe.
Yeah, and I kind of see this in a different light than the other councillors at this time. To me, I think we should be contacting Tech. Tech is the one that's interested in the area. If Tech had plans to reopen Quintet, and that meant that Boulder Gardens would have to go, I unfortunately would be in support of that Boulder Gardens would go if Tech was going to reopen Quintet. But that's a big if. But to me, I think we should reach out to Tech to see what is their intention. If that's holding them back from something, or they want to have some type of conversation over it, or if this is just Tech wants more land in the area as a land grab, then no, we wouldn't do that. But if they had legitimate plans of opening a mine up there, because this doesn't necessarily mean that it would be an open pit mine, right? It could be underground in that area. So I would rather reach out to Tech first to find out what their intention is, and go from there. If we could ever have Quintet reopen, that would be monumental. And if this is something we could do to help them, I would be in favor of that. So.
Okay, thank you. Welcome a motion. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I have a motion prepared that staff replies to the Ministry of Energy and Mines and Low Carbon Innovation that the Boulder Gardens still requires protection of a reserve, and to advise them of the Titanic Shipyard, Babcock Falls, as well as the Emperor's Challenge half marathon within the area as well.
That would be affected.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Majinski, discussion. Councillor Howe.
Again, I think before we reach back out to them, we should be reaching out to Tech to see if there's any possibility of them opening a mine, and if this is holding them up from opening a mine, and just to have that conversation. It'd be a quick one, and then if they say no, we're not doing it, then we could go ahead with this type of a motion.
Yeah, I agree. As a stakeholder, they should be contacted. I believe this is just an inquiry from the ministry to the community, so I'm not sure if tech has been involved in this at all. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. With this issue, this is question from the Ministry of Mines. Right? Is this area still important? Is this place still important? It absolutely is. And the conversation with tech can be separate as well. But I mean, speaking with the Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society, I was talking to them over the weekend. Individuals who have been a part of it anyways. Tech has always had a great relationship with Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society in the area. There's people who develop these trails out there. They're asking us for information. We should be relaying that to them, as well as, tech may be looking at developing a mine, they may be not. I'm sure there's many coal leases around the area they could potentially develop. I don't think we have to choose between these spots and a mine opening up at this point in time, right? I don't think it's a binary decision at this point. If tech comes in and says that we're going to open up a mine, well, that's something different, right? But as it stands now, they're just looking at options, and we need to let them know that there are valuable assets to the community in this area, and by losing them, we're now losing our diversity in our community, right? We're losing our tourism. We're losing 1,000 grand event.
It is a geosite as well,
So,
yeah.
we're losing a lot. So it shouldn't just be, okay, well, let's lose all of it.
Thank you. Councillor Howe?
So again, that's a lot of assumptions there. We're going to lose a 1,000-man event because we didn't protect this one area. Well, they run all over that area there. That's not the only area that they run in, and they've changed the route before when a coal mine went in place. So those routes could be changed. You're not going to lose the event just because a possibility could happen. But to me, it's an assumption. We don't know what tech is planning. It says tech owns all the area around it. They probably applied for the coal lease there. Is that because tech is trying to do something that this has come to the forefront or not? And it's just a simple question to tech first, so that we can give our opinion back to the Ministry of Mines with better information. That's all I'm asking to do. Don't send the letter back to them until we talk to tech first. If tech says, no, we're not planning on doing anything, but we would take it if you guys remove it, then we say, no, let's hold off on that for now. But I think just to have the conversation with tech is what we absolutely should do if we're in support of business and mining in Tumbler Ridge. That's our bread and butter, man. Like, if there's any possibility that this is holding tech up, we should just ask them. It's just a simple ask. That's all it is.
Yeah, I know. Councillor Majinski?
Definitely we should talk to tech about this, but I don't think there's any reason for us not to send this letter, which the ministry's asking for first, and then still reach out to tech and say, hey, we had this come across our board, and did you guys have any input on this, and have any concerns if you want to go forward, or you want to put a new road in there, or whatever, just to access another location? Just, we can do both at the same time. I don't think one has to be held up before the other.
I agree. Councillor Howe?
Yeah, and I disagree with that because I see how the wheels of government move in British Columbia. And if we were to come out and say that, yeah, we're in support of protecting this area, they might use that to go back to tech and say, no, you got to shut the thing down because District of Tumbler Ridge is protecting it. And then we're backpedaling already, right? So to me, it's such a vital thing in our community to have Quintet go, if it could ever go. And the amount of money that Quintet and Tech has put into this community over the years, we owe it to them to just ask the question before we go in support saying, yeah, we're going to shut this area off. Just ask the question, then we can send this letter. It'll take us less than a week. It doesn't have to be sent tonight.
I think we get the gist, and I am in agreement that I think both of these things can happen at the same time. So I'll call the question on the motion on the table. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Kirby?
I'm opposed.
Defeated, thank you. Councillor Howe, motion?
Then I'll put a motion on the floor that we ask staff to contact Tech to see what their plans would be around that area and if they would have any issue with us continuing to ask for that area to be a reserve area.
Seconder? Councillor Kukalka, discussion? Councillor Majinski?
So if we do send a letter and we get a response back, will we come back and say, send out a letter back to the ministry here Is that the intention?
I think if tech does respond with intention of trying to expand that area, I think we need to meet again. But if they respond in the negative, that they're not looking towards developing that area, then I think we go ahead with the letter of support. Councillor Majinski.
And should we have that stated in the recommendation on the board then? Or do we have to stress that factor?
Ms. Thompson, did you need clearer direction in the motion?
I didn't get, sorry, thank you, Member Trent. I didn't get all the motion there. Just give me 1 second.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. Staff, we feel we don't need any more direction, that we'll be able to get the answer based on what was in the resolution and bring it back to council for discussion.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Any other discussion? Call the question.
Yes, I'd like to add something, Mayor Bertrand.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Kirby.
Yes, it does say that Tech has inquired about this, and the ministries or natural resource specialist is asking also if this land reserve is in the correct area according to the map, which I don't know if it is. So there's a couple of unanswered questions for sure there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Any other items from the consent agenda wish to be lifted? Councillor Kirkowka.
6.2.
For discussion, seconder, Councillor Majinski. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, so this letter was actually brought to us in regards to a resident that received it. I know staff has already reached out to the ministry to have some conversation, but I think residents should be aware that, this isn't going forward right away, that there'll be more contact with the district before it goes forward. Whether it's, whether it's I'm not throwing the community forest out there, but whether the community forest is the ones that end up doing it on behalf of this ministry, it's still going to come back forward to this council to have a little bit more in-depth conversation with the ministry before it's
Engagement, yeah. Ms. Thompson, we did get a response back from them. Can you explain what that entailed, please?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So I did reach out to the ministry and I spoke with Mr. Van Horn, and he said this is a new project that he came in December of 2020 to Chetwynd. And this letter was sent out in response to work that is going to be done in Fort St. John first. And the plan is for Tumbler Ridge not to happen for until 23 or 24. And they did apologize for the letter going out, that the district should have been within the engagement, and that they do have plans to engage the district when it would come to time for the project to move forward.
Thank you. Councillor Kirkowka.
So just because you've had some engagement with the ministry, I wonder if we should ask staff to just maybe reach out to the ministry again in regards to the tender that the Mountain Bike Association's asked for on this same hill. If we've got that dialogue already started, maybe we could just remind them that association's waiting for a tender on that hill as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that needs to be a motion, or if maybe Councilor Kirby has any more information on the Mountain Bike Association in regards to that.
Councillor Kirby, did you have any other information in regards to the tenure for TRMBA?
I think that, the Mountain Bike Association is just waiting on that. There was a few things that they had to tie up, so it should be coming soon, we're hoping.
Okay. Ms. Thompson, have we had any communication with the ministry in regards to that, or BC Parks?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So when I did speak with the ministry, I noted the concerns or some of the issues that we had, and in regard to the TRMBA, I did provide the information to contact the TRMBA, and to my understanding, they have already been in contact between the two divisions of the ministry for it, so they are aware of the TRMBA's interest.
Thank you. Councillor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. In regards to TRMBA and the contacts there, the two ministries, Ms. Bowie and Mr. Van Horn, have been hopefully crossing paths on this, because part of the same ministry, but not have been informed of each. So it was news to both of them from that aspect of it. And one of the stipulations for being able to actually do any type of trail work is having a wildlife impact study done. So I'd be interested to see if there has been one done on that bridge as of late by the ministry, or if they require to have one done prior to doing this clearing of that land, because that would definitely be a big impact on a lot of the animals on the hillside, as well as if we were to GMA put into trails, whether they get them done after the fact, would they have to wait to build these trails and get the trail clearing done, or if they could expedite the process and do the lower section or upper section? Like, I don't even know if they've even looked at what could be done, because there's a lot of steep hillsides there, and I don't even know if they're going to get up into that area, or if they've claimed as what they have logged or potentially mapped out for stripping of that area. So on a personal note, it would be more important to have that ground cleared out, to actually have ease of access to put in any equipment to build a trail. But on that same hand, they're going to have to bring in equipment as well. And where I've seen it in the past is it's not small equipment. It's like skid steers and stuff like that, because they got to move that brush around, they got to move all the deadfall around, and they're not going to do it all by hand, I don't believe. If it is, it's going to be a huge undertaking.
Councillor Howe?
Well, I want to come out right away and say right off the top here that I don't want to see any logging at all done on that hillside at all. I've seen their selective harvesting that they've done in and around Tumbler Ridge, and it's absolutely brutal as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to see it touched at all. And I think that's part of it, is the optics of it. But to me, the big concern up there is the water management. Those trees soak up a lot of water. We go in there, we trim out a bunch of trees, or they log a bunch, and then they all blow down in the winds, and then we're going to have water issues. Particularly, like Willem, Sekunka Place, Babcock, all those streets up in that area. Who takes on that liability? Is the government willing to come in and replace all those people's houses if they all get flooded? If we have a mudslide, something along those lines? But to me, we've also got to think of all the stakeholders. It's not just the Tumbler Ridge Mountain Bike Association. The Grizzly Valley ATV Club created a big trail up there. They need to be contacted. Ask them, were you contacted by the ministry? And another one that I think that we should be reaching out to, I think we should have a motion to that effect tonight too, is West Moberly. Right? West Moberly has a piece of the land that they've applied for up there. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's West Moberly side, not Soto, right?
Correct.
So there is a portion up there. It would be interesting for us to reach out to them and say, hey, did you know that the government's planning on coming and logging the area that you guys have applied for in Tumbler Ridge? As a good neighbor, as something that we should do going forward, we should contact them. And to me, it'd be very interesting to see if the ministry has even gone down that route yet. But particularly, our biggest stakeholders, residents of Tumbler Ridge, right? That's who we're here to represent, number one. And to me, from anybody that I've talked to about this that not many people know about it, but we need to get the word out and say they're thinking about this. And the government to come to us and say that we need response back from you, from the letter was what, the 8th of February. And then as soon as we inquire and say, hey, wait a second, what's going on? We haven't been consulted. And then they back it up, oh, no, it's 2-3 years down the road. Why was it so critical that our resident got his information in by February 8th, the only stakeholder that they applied to? It just doesn't sit right with me. And to me, I think those are a few things that we should do. We should do the research here and step out to get those people either on our side or with us, or how do you sit as a councillor? Like, to me, I don't want to see any logging done up there. I don't want to take the risk of having any issues with water management and anything up there. Yeah, forest fires are a thing of contention, but I knew that when I moved to Tumbler Ridge, right? So, and I thought we were told our fire mitigation hazards were done 2 years ago. I thought the community forest told us that the areas that they did around the community, this is it, they're done. We don't have to do any more fire mitigation. Now, maybe this is different, but that's the understanding I was under.
Okay. Councillor Norbury, then Majinski.
So this is not done through the community forest. This is done through the wildfire mitigation group. It's on the paper. This is done by a subset of the Ministry of Flynn Road, right? So this is sort of a big push to take a look at more wildfire danger areas to address them. right? I mean, I absolutely understand the water issues and the losing appeal of the area, but like, I think we need to, pump the brakes a little bit on opposition here, as this is a high wildfire risk area, right? The people that have come up and done this, like, they're wildfire experts, right? They've identified these areas of high risk, and we should take that seriously, right? Like, last thing we want is our whole community going up in flames, right? Like, that is a danger here. So I think rather than automatically be in opposition, let's reach out to them. Let's get the stakeholders involved, because I think, they've missed out on that. This does seem like it's a little rushed. Let's get everyone involved, but not be up to what we do.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Councilor Majinski?
Thank you, Bertrand. Yeah, I've seen when they've done this type of clearing in southern BC, and they take out a lot. Like, it's not just underbrush. They strip the sides of the trees, the branches off. It opens up a lot. So the wind would be a major concern coming up on a hillside like that. A lot of the times when we see a lot of this wildfire down, they do it in lower flat plain ground, not on hillsides. So once you start doing that, it'll definitely have an issue with fallen debris. And I don't know. I'd like to see more of a cohesive game plan going forward and see what they want to do before anything is agreed upon there, for sure.
Yep. Councilor Howe?
I'd like to put a motion on the floor that we ask staff to reach out to the stakeholders of that area, which include the West Moberly, TRNBA, Grizzly Valley ATV Club, to ask them if they had been consulted about the wildfire risk reduction fuel management prescription for that area.
Seconder? Councilor Majinski, discussion? Councilor Majinski?
We also have, I'm assuming it's marked out of there, but that's our popular hiking road up as well, so that would be over in Nordic Mountain Society. Oh, no, actually, no, I think that's district owned. Sorry, that's district owned, so yeah, but that's, part of that as well.
Yeah, I think this Tumbler Ridge project was kind of lumped into a bunch of other projects, and given the response back from the ministry, it's 2 or 3 years away before we even get stakeholder engagement on this project. So we're definitely ahead of the game on this in this situation. But yeah, no, I definitely think stakeholders need to be involved. Councilor Majinski.
And this has happened, and I've heard in the past, where an association has built a trail within Tumbler Ridge boundary, and it got logged out after the fact. So there was no stakeholder engagement. And whether that trail was in place and verified and everything else, we don't want to be backpedaling and having a trail, especially with the JCP project that we have built on White Lake Trail, and if it gets stripped out and wrecked. So that would be a good access point for them to utilize, but do we want to have big equipment on that as well and coming down the hillside from there?
Councilor Howe?
So this letter is their identified stakeholder. This is them reaching out. So we sent a letter to them, and then they said, "Oh yeah, and we'll include you guys now." So what I'm saying is why aren't we including all these other groups in this motion? It says we are contacting identified stakeholders to provide information regarding the project and offer an opportunity for input and feedback. And then it says at the back of it, it says, your input is important to us, and for this reason, we greatly appreciate your written feedback response by February 5th, 2021. Yeah, they've extended the timeline for a month for our written feedback, but just because they're saying, oh, well, we're going to do your area in 2022 or 2023, it says in the letter that it could be done anytime between now and then. So to me, we need to reach out now and ask these people, because the government didn't do, the professionals that came in to do this assessment didn't do their job again. Sorry, they did.
Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So I don't have an issue with contacting stakeholders. I think it's a wise decision. I think we should also be reaching out to the Flynn Wildfire Risk Reduction. Let's go ahead and throw that acronym in there. and get more information from them as well, because by just getting all these people together and saying they're going to go out and log, look what they've done in the past, oh my God! We're going to create a little bit of upset and panic, which I don't think is really required at this point. Let's get a little more information from the ministry that we can pass along to these people as well. Again, I don't think we have to choose between one or the other. We can do both. Because at the Community Forest AGM, we had a group come in and talk to us about like what they're going to be doing and what it would look like, right? And I think that would be good information to pass along to everyone. And like, I'm reviewing it now, and it seems reasonable, right? It's not a clear cut. You know, a lot of the trees are still there. So I think getting a little more information from them as well to pass along, I think, is important because.
Yep, I agree. Councillor Kirkowka.
So I guess my question back to Councilor O'Leary would be, did you reach out to them or did they reach out to you guys? And if they reached out to you guys, my concern would be they didn't reach out to the District of Tunbridge, who's a huge stakeholder. We represent all the residents of Tunbridge. So did they reach out to you guys or did you guys reach out to them? To the community forest?
Councillor Norbury.
I'll have to get back to you. I'm not 100% sure on how the conversation came to be. I know that our manager got a hold of the person who was doing the investigatory work of the area and got him to take a sort of assisted him into that because, yeah, we need a little assistance, I believe. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I'm not exactly sure on who initiated it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lehman.
Thank you, Member. I have to agree with Councillor Howe. Over the past year and a half, we've had significant slides down in the southern interior, and I'm not sure if they're related to wildfire mitigation or whatever it is. I don't know if they have an idea of what it is or what caused them, because as far as I know at this point, they don't know what caused those two big slides. But being a hill like that, it does kind of worry me. And I think they maybe need to have a better look. Because if they're going to cut a significant number of trees, that's going to impact what that slope is going to be able to retain for water.
Yep, absolutely. We call the question on the floor. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Howe.
Another motion I put on the floor that we ask staff to draft a letter for council review and input in response to the I don't know what the acronym is. I guess in response to Alexandria Lane's letter.
Seconder. Councillor Majinski, discussion. Councillor Howe.
So basically, what I'm asking is I'm asking staff to build us a letter that we can look at, review it, have some input into it before we send our response back. That has to be in by March 17th, 2021. Hopefully we get some responses back from our stakeholders as well. But basically the idea here is that staff captures all the concerns that our council has. And that is, you know, the optics of it, the slides, the water management issues. So the staff has an opportunity to build that letter for us to review it before we send it in on the 20th or 17th, just so council can review it and look at it and decide if that's the route that we want to go or not.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Norbury.
Potentially added to that a request for information on the an expansion on what they're actually going to be doing in this area in terms of how much trees they're going to be removing, if they're going to be bringing equipment, that sort of stuff. We need to make an amendment there, or can staff capture that?
Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Member. We'll be able to capture that for you.
Thank you. Councillor Majinski.
And in terms of TRMA, if they do build trails, which the money they got from was from federal, are they going to kind of deviate away from that trail network? Same with the bald spot, the hiking trail, are they going to deviate around that? And how are they going to do that? It says in here it's a thinning, so I don't know how much logging they're gonna be doing, but anything that you thin out like that, they're gonna obviously probably put, they're not gonna chip it all. I couldn't even imagine they're chipping whole trees. They're gonna chop them up and then they're gonna burn them. So they're gonna be slash piled on the hillside, most likely, it's my guess. That's what they've done in southern BC. And the wildlife is the other thing. There's gonna be a wildlife impact study done.
Any other comments, questions? Call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Anything else on the consent agenda, council? Okay, moving on to reports, 7.1. 2021 fleet replacement, a report dated February 8th, 2021 from the Director of Operations and Infrastructure with parameters and justification requested regarding 2021 fleet replacement. Would anyone from council like to discuss this report? Okay, I'll move for information. Seconder, Councillor Norbury. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. 8.1, naming rights policy, forwarded from January 18th, 2021 council meeting. Move this for discussion. Seconder, Councillor Norbury. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Councillor Korkalka.
Yeah, thank you. I'm actually going to excuse myself for this talk there. Just have staff to talk whether I am in a conflict of interest or maybe just a presumed conflict of interest. I won't be doing it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just in time.
Thank you. Okay, anyone like to start? Councillor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. First thing is, this came to light because of a few of the vested nonprofits in the community wanted to start this, and one of them was Charity, which is not listed, so I think that should be on the list as well. Is that what your district outside?
Correct. Yep. Ms. Thompson, is that just an oversight or?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. 1 second. Thank you. Sorry about that, just completely. So these were just examples, so it wasn't, we didn't leave off PR days for, you know, or the fairgrounds off on purpose. It's just an oversight.
Just
But they would be included.
So this is just examples, not a final list of.
Right, it's, yeah, not inclusive.
Right, thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I see that guiding principles 5, we've added marijuana in there. Does that need to be motion to stay in there, or is like this red what it's going to look like moving forward? We need motion to make that change to add that word.
I think we had that discussion last time, I believe. Councillor Howe?
Yeah, I just like a kind of a brief understanding of how staff thinks that this would work, let's say for the tennis court, for instance. Company ABC wants to come in and they want to have the naming rights for the tennis court. Could you just walk us through how that would work? How do you set the rate? Is it for a year? Is it for eternity? what is your thought process on how this would work if someone were to come forward and say, I want to support the tennis court, just to give us a flow of how it would work?
Sure thing. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand, through council. So if a business came in and said, you know, we would like to name this, right? They fill out an application, we have an evaluation process that comes with it, and council would review it and make the decision based on that. From there would be an agreement that would be signed, which would be a contractual agreement that would outline all of this. You may want to say, you know, for this amount, it would be a 5-year naming rights, and then they would be given the first right of refusal for an additional 5 years. You can think of it even with tennis courts. You can even think of like an ice resurfacer, right? Somebody they purchase the ice resurfacer. Is it there for the life of the resurfacer? Or do you want to just do it as a 5-year or a 10-year with the first right that would go with it? So when council would entertain the idea of each proposal that would come forward, it is on a case-by-case basis with these as guiding principles for the naming rights.
Okay, thank you. Follow-up, Councillor?
Not yet.
Okay. Councillor Majinski?
And with the contract form, it'd be good to have the bullet points in there specific to each applicant. And I understand that Jen would understand this, Ms. Thompson, sorry. But going forward, it would need to, other people that would be filling out the forms and speaking out the process would be equally important. So, and whether it's our corporate officer or somebody at the front desk being able to fill out the form and have these answers available. And having that continued continued correspondence between each party, whether it's the business, the company, or the company or the individual user group that is wanting to receive the funds. So I think there has to be a little bit of dialogue between all 3 parties, between the district, the user group, and the company. So there's a lot of moving parts there, and I think there has to be a pretty good guideline in the contract plan to follow through and be cohesive with, because it could get pretty convoluted, I think, over time. Like 1 year is this, and the next year is different. So.
And that's really where the policy comes in as a guiding principle. You know, each case by case basis is going to have a few variations, I would assume, because, you know, not every property is the same situation, I don't think, as well as the same user groups. So I think there is some area for variability, but I think captures the guiding principle. Follow up, Councillor?
Yeah, so as a nonprofit, they can apply for the naming rights if they wanted to as well, correct? So we'll say about the skate park, whoever owns that can say, I want the naming rights for $10, and they can come and submit that to the district. And then say you want to have the names on the tennis courts, but somebody else wants to spend more money on that. How does that all work? And can that be used as a fundraising platform? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah.
I'm trying to explain that better, but.
Yeah. Ms. Thompson, are you able to answer any of those questions?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So I think I do understand, you know, if
I think it's kind of going towards number 14 that's highlighted. So promotion, enhancement, maintenance of the name of the facility. I think there needs to be something in there where there could be capital, something that started from the ground up. So these are already existing infrastructure, and so somebody wants to say they want to pay for the skate park. They want to have their name on it, and it's going to be $10,000. So they're going to obviously put that money towards the skate park, whether it's going to refinish the rails or put in a half pipe or something else. It doesn't say anything in there about a capital project, so something that's on the go and something that's new and fresh and exciting, and to put the money into it, that's going to go directly to the new project itself. So it's more towards the ground up capital project, I think.
Well, wouldn't that be captured in the enhancement of the facility?
I think that's open for, yeah, I don't think so, because enhancement is usually for something that's already existing.
Hmm.
You know, like it could be an addition, like maybe fencing or a new rock or whatever, right?
And you're thinking more of a new,
Yeah,
totally new.
specifically to your MBA, like they wanted to use the naming rights as a funding platform. So it's gonna be a large dollar amount that somebody's just saying, okay, we can come in and spend this money, but it's going directly to the build, the actual foundation of the build. So it's, and that's where the dollar amounts would definitely change from tennis courts to skate park and stuff like that, because those are already in place. And people may want their name on those and say, okay, well, we want to put something in there, and we want it to go towards, hey, we want a new health bike, that's what the kids in the community want. Can we go for that? And how much is it going to cost, and we can put a certain amount towards that.
Yeah, I think, for anything existing, I think the word enhancement will capture that investment of that fundraising money back into the facility. But in the case of the TRMBA and the pump track, I think that would be again, a case-by-case basis where we could kind of set out that parameter there. But I do think it still is captured in the enhancement of the facility. Counselor.
Yeah, and I just don't want that to be under interpretation going forward for maybe a new CAO or new council, and they don't understand like what the wording is. Like, we're very conscious on how we word things and direct staff, and here it can be open to interpretation. Well, it doesn't say anything about starting something new, ground up. Like, say we wanted to put in a splash park, we have a funder for that. Well, it doesn't say in here anywhere where they can fund it and have their naming rights on it from the ground up. It's maybe an enhancement, so maybe they'll put in a water sprayer or something after it's done, right? So I just want to just clarify that there's something in here that says that it can be brought up from the ground. And I can understand where it can happen in a contract, but every contract's gonna be different, and
Yeah.
it should be stated prior to the actual contract in the policy itself.
Sure thing. Ms. Thompson, can you comment on that, please?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So I think the intent is, to have this, or not I think, I know the intent of this is to allow some leeway, not make it too restrictive, so that those decisions can be made on a case-by-case basis. It does have to be only district-owned land facilities and everything. We also do have, if you want to look on page 37, underneath application process, where it says applicants can then make up a proposal including all relevant materials, including but not limited to the following. So if an applicant chose to make a proposal saying, we want naming rights for TRMBA, and for this, they would be able to put that in the proposal, and council would be able to decide on it. Alternatively, if you would like, under number 14, it could be used, the proceeds received by the naming entity for naming rights sale are to be used for capital build, promotion, enhancement, and or maintenance of the named facility. You can put capital build in there, although like we are saying it is inferred, and it is council's decision at the end of the process to decide whether or not naming rights do happen.
Absolutely. Councillor Howell, then Councillor Norbury.
So my thought comes in with something like the curling ring. So the curling ring is utilized by one group, the curling club. So if somebody wanted to come in and say, do $10,000, I'd like to have the naming rights for the curling club, and they have $10,000, where's the $10,000? Does it go to the curling club to allow them to do what they want to do with it? Or does it go to the district of Tumbler Ridge so that we can maintain the curling ring, fix it, and whatnot? Because that's to me is what we should be doing. It's to reduce the cost on the taxpayers instead of giving it to as a funding opportunity for groups Similar to minor hockey trying to organize it over top of figure skating, who gets the money? Well, go out and do your fundraising to get money however you want to do it, but this is to help fund for the facility that's here. When we talk about something that isn't built yet, like the pump track, and you're gonna have naming rights on the pump track, that's a completely different animal at that point. But how would that work, right? Like, is that what it's intended for? Or are we gonna say, when this council is gone and the $10,000 comes into the curling club, that it's loosey-goosey enough that we can say, well, you can give that money to the curling club so they can buy new sticks or brooms or whatever they want, right?
Yeah, at this point, the intention is the money would go to the District of Tumbler Ridge to be used for promotion, enhancement, and maintenance of the named facility. Is that correct, Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Member Trent. Essentially, yes. However, you do still have the ability to make changes to it. This is guiding, right? So 5 years down the road and there's a new council and they're reading and somebody comes in and let's say the curling rink says, we want, I'm not sure if we supply rocks, we want to buy rocks, blah, 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 list everything that they want to buy. That person would still need to make the application to the district saying, and then in the agreement would say, we would like naming rights for 3 years and we are going to spend $10,000 doing rocks, boards, I'm just thinking of things. And then it would still be up to the council of the day to decide whether or not that money is like, if you want naming rights, it has to be for the building, or you just say, I'm sorry, but we're not willing to do that, and the money go back to the curling club. So the situations can be different, so we didn't want to make the policy restrictive, but we wanted to give the guiding principles moving forward.
Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. On Councillor Majinski's point, I think it would be prudent to add in the 14 capital project in that, in my experience with the NI's advertising policy, it is a hard thing to explain to some people, and having it in black and white right there, I think is important, as some of the main drivers behind this, TRMBA, TR Day Society, they initially wanted it for capital builds, right? And if it's ambiguous, I think it'd be add to our policy to have that clear. On Councillor Howe's question, I'm in favor of money generated from this naming rights policy to be used for the maintenance and care of, not for going to the club to sort of go off in a different direction. I think in the essence of this is to add to the asset that the person is naming. Right? It doesn't make sense that we would shift it around. I think as somebody would want to be named, want something to be named after them, they don't want that. They want that to go in.
Yeah, absolutely. Councillor Lehman, then Hall?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. The curling rink used to sell advertising along the walls, and the money that we generated went back into help pay for the rent and whatever else needed for the operation. But it wasn't would never be used for buying rooms or anything like that, because if you want any of that, you have to buy it yourself. So it would always go back into the club, either as rent or, we need something for the lounge upstairs, so, I don't know, it's not really naming rights, but we did raise money to try and reduce our costs.
Councillor Hall?
I guess maybe here's maybe a better way to think about it. If somebody was going to come down and give $30,000 to the curling club because they want to have the naming rights for the curling club for the next 5 years, are we going to, do they have the opportunity to come in and say, but with that $30,000, I want you to put in benches, and I want you to buy new rocks, and I want you to put my logo on the ice, and I want you to do, or is it, we're going to give you $30,000 that goes to the district of Tumbler Ridge, and that is for maintenance costs, and your name will be listed on the outside of the curling rink, and it'll be on the internet, and what? I guess that's the other thing, is that can it be dictated, or the skateboard park? Someone comes, I want to give you 50 grand because I want to put, and name it because I want to put in a half pipe. Okay, no, if you want to put in a half pipe, put in a half pipe, but we're not, Do you know what I mean? Like, that would be my concern, that somebody dictates where the funds go. And the fear in there is that we expand on the facility that's there and make our maintenance costs even larger.
Sure.
For something, just because somebody give you the initial outlay on it, but now we've got the maintenance costs on it going on. And who knows what it could be. It just could be very, very costly to us, which looks good in the beginning, but ends up costing us lots of money 10 years down the road when you gotta repave it or redo the concrete or whatever. Right?
Sure, absolutely. And currently, the way it's set out at the moment, the money does go back to the district for the maintenance and any enhancement to the facility. But there are going to be cases, I'm sure, in the future that a proposal will come in for certain requests. And that's why we're dealing with it on a case-by-case basis to see if council of the day is in favor or not. So this is really guiding principle, and I do agree with both councillors that I think capital projects should be in black and white in there so that people are aware that it can be used for that. It is a guiding principle, but we don't want to leave too much open for interpretation. But like I say, each proposal will be tweaked a little bit differently, I'm sure. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I think that's when it comes, the one-off we have to sign off on it comes into play, right? Like, what if, Red Bull comes in and says we need $2 million to throw on a half pipe on the skate park? It costs $200,000. That's an easy one. What if they're gonna give us $5,000 to dictate it? Well, then that's where we get to that point to step in and say, well, sorry guys, we're not building you a half pipe for $5,000, right? So, yeah, I think this is a good start for sure. And do we need to make a motion to add that language in there?
I think we should, yep. Councillor?
So I'll make a motion that we add in clarity that proceeds received by the naming entity for naming rights and sale are to be used for the capital project we added in.
Number 14.
14.
Seconder, Councilor Majinski, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried? Councilor Kirby, did you have anything to add? Or question or comment? Okay, Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The only thing that I wanted to talk about, see if anyone wants to talk about, is do we want to have a maximum term? Do we want to allow people to have something be called after them for indefinite? I mean, it might make sense to add on disallowal of anything indefinite. I mean, we could potentially be generating revenue constantly every 20 years, 15 years, what have you.
Yeah, and indefinite certainly wouldn't, you'd have to add communication in the contract about inflation, I'm sure, if it did want to go for 20 years. Yeah. Questions, comments? Did you want to make a motion? No, Councillor? Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. If you look on page 38, underneath the evaluation process, one of the considerations is the term. And also at the bottom of the page, under naming rights agreement, the term of the agreement. So the term of the agreement would be the length of time that the naming rights would be there. So that would all be determined underneath the evaluation process and at the discretion of council.
Okay, Councillor?
And the only reason why I bring it up is like if there's enough people that thought up front, like, I don't think we should have it being named indefinite, right? But I mean, that may be the first step in all this, that the first time someone comes in, they're gonna say, well, I want the skate park to be named Rockstar Park
Well, it's,
for life.
yeah, I can see a situation of indefinite naming of possibly a builder maybe, or somebody absolutely responsible for building a certain feature in town. And by rights and honor, they should be named indefinitely. That was their project, or they spearheaded it. And, in that situation, I think an indefinite naming would be applicable. But I'm not sure which organization or who would put the money up for indefinite name as well. So that's a different situation as well, I think. Yeah. Counselor, or comments, questions? Counselor Howe?
So just thinking outside the box here, like years ago when we put the pool in, Janet Hartford went around and garnered up the money. She chased it down, and what happens if we get, do we lose the opportunity to get funding for things by only offering naming rights? For instance, if Wajax was going to sponsor the pool back in the day because they wanted naming rights for the pool, but another group, Tech or Bull Moose or somebody also wanted to do the naming rights, do you lose the opportunity of getting those people to donate to the project because they can't get the naming rights? That's the only problem that I have with it going into capital costs.
Possibly.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's only one naming right. There's only one group that gets to do it. So, like,
That's where the evaluation of the application could come in as well. It would really be up to council of the day.
that's kind of why I thought, like once it's built or once it's done, if you needed the money for it, you could put it towards capital. But if you can't get it done without it, then that's a different story, right? So, I don't know.
Counselor Lehman?
Thank you, Mayor Burton. I think that might be small problem, but it's like the Encana Center or some of these other big centers. They have the big contributors that put obviously a lot of money into it, but you still, like we have at the pool, we have the plaques where you have individual donors that I think you can still recognize by doing that kind of a thing. And I think that would be fairly easy. You know, you have somebody that wants to put in a lot of money, but then you have people that, you know, maybe $200, $300 or whatever it is, but still recognize those people for donating. And you could have them on a plaque or, you know, separate plaque or all in the list that are still there.
Counselor Majinski?
Well, Council, I didn't just exactly what I was going to say. So there are other options to have a family or business or, you know, to put in money in a different scope. And it could even be any kind of donation of their service. So it doesn't have to be monetary.
Definitely. Yep.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, please, Counselor Kirby.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I think this policy is a great start. Mike, I have a couple of questions regarding parks. Now, if council, if someone wanted to come and sponsor or have a naming right to a park, would we be able to would that entail them taking care of that park, like upkeep equipment for so many years? Can the district allow someone to come in and take over that kind of work? And also the community center, when we're breaking down rooms 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, I see the community center as if someone is going to come and want a naming right to that facility, then it should be the name of the, you know, you take, you know, the whatever business, community center, but it should come with X number of dollars in programming that kind of covers all of those areas. Because I can't see you doing individual rooms, et cetera. I think, you know, you come in and you're going to have $100,000 going to go to, you know, there's going to be some free swims. There's going to be something at the curling, maybe putting ice in, whatever it is. That's got to be a major donor. I can't see how you could break all of that up. But, you know, we have the Saddle Club, all these areas that are district-owned land. Can a naming right come in, and so part of the cost recovery is that they are now responsible for maintenance? Is that something that we can look at?
So I'm just trying to understand. So you're asking if the proponent that wants the naming rights is able to take care of the maintenance after that? Is that what you mean?
Yes, like with the union. So say I want to name Joanne Kirby Park. Now, as part of that, because just like Councillor Howe has mentioned, is that you get naming rights to take some of the cost off of the district. So now if I'm going to take over that park for 5 years, I am responsible for the maintenance of that. If I contract that out, do it myself, repair the equipment, or is it just a name on there that just goes to the district putting that money in? And then how do we reflect that in a budget?
That's correct. Yeah, it would be just the name going up for the proponent's responsibilities The district would still be responsible for all the maintenance and care of the facility. And then the money that is generated through the naming rights sale is allocated to an account specifically for that facility. Is that correct, Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So year to year, you wouldn't be able to budget how much money would be coming in. You would receive it as, you would have a separate account for it. And then staff would be responsible for maintaining that account and balancing it, saying, this is maintenance and repair. This is the $30,000 that went with it. So we do already break down into accounts. So it would be we wouldn't be able to budget for the revenue, but we always budget for the expenses, right?
Thank you. Councillor Howe?
And just Councillor Kirby, I think she was kind of saying, like, if you name the community center, you name everything in the community center. You don't break it down by room by room. Maybe I'm mistaken on what she was saying there, but that's how they do it in Grand Prairie. Like, this is the Coke Center, and then they name each individual rink is sponsored by like Overland Trucking, and then the rooms upstairs are all sponsored by different forestry companies, and so like there's all kinds of names all over. But the main one for the arena is Coke Center, sponsored by. So there's no reason why you can't do it all over the place with every room, the weight room or whatever you want to do. There's no reason we can't do that. So
Sure.
just generates more money.
Sure. Yeah. Did that answer all your questions, Councillor Kirby, or did you have a follow-up?
No, that's good, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Norbury, did you have some? Councillor Majinski?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So, would there be a public hearing for these then? Like, say somebody wants to have a sign outside in a park, and there, like, maybe there's objections. Some people don't want a big sign out in front of a park or something like that. So would there be some type of public hearing that's going to go on? So
It's a good point, Councillor. Ms. Thompson, have we captured that in here of a public hearing?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Yes, we have. We do also have our sign bylaw that everything would need to be in accordance with as well. So we also have another bylaw to go with it.
Thank you, Councillor.
I don't know if I'll be in conflict talking about signage because I own a sign company, but as of right now, this is all in draft, so I'm thinking I'm going to be okay. But I think even if we did do a draft contract with any company, with any ABC contracting, whatever, that would probably have to go, like, there'd have to be a sign, layout, design, template that they'd have to follow, probably to match all of our trail signage in around the community, so that would have to follow, because you don't want to have ABC contracting want a big illuminated sign out some kid's play park in the middle of the night, and there's going to be conflicts there, so try to follow the same unison outlook and layout. And would that be, because right now with the sale of advertising, at the ball diamonds, for example, the company is responsible for the cost of the sign as well. Now would that cost come back onto the district because they have a specific requirement? So like, say the bald spot, they have the nice wooden beams, concreted in, signpost with a nice steel roof on it, painted to match, with our branding and all that. Would that cost be included or incurred by a company that wants to get the name rights on something?
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. If you look on page 37, when we're talking about signage for corporate naming, there must be a draft signage proposal and acknowledgement plan.
And then is the proponent responsible for the cost of the signage?
That would be negotiated, right? That would be negotiated in the agreement.
Because I believe in the past, the proponent has been responsible for their own sign. I know in the center at the rink they have. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I think on the last part of the naming rights agreement, it does say that agreement to remove or cover signage for a limited period. I don't know if we should be adding in limitations to signage if we make them adhere to our signage, as like if say an organization wants to come in and use their brand, we shouldn't make them choose our brand over theirs, and it might lose that sale of opportunity, right? Like, say McDonald's wants to come in, and they have their very specific color scheme. You tell them, no, you gotta use our brown and gray and white, and it might hinder it. So I don't think we should be, I don't know if it's a good idea to be limiting signage or adding in this policy, the directions, or we can judge it.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Moving on to question and answer period. Ms. Thompson, did you receive any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Thank you. Adjournment, please. Recommendation? Councillor Norbury?
At the February 18th, 2020 policies and parties committee meeting, be adjourned.
Correct that, February 8th. Seconded by Councillor Lehman. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, staff.
What did I say?
February 18th.
Joanne Kirby.